Philippians chapter 4 and verse 8. Philippians chapter 4 and verse 8 says, "Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy," he writes, "think on these things." Think on these things. Think on these things. And on this, add to queue. Talking about summer soundtrack, add to queue. What do we add to the queue of our minds? So you think of a playlist and you think, what's on repeat? Maybe it's that favorite song that you like. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's a pod you really like, and you listen to the same podcast over and over again. What's that song? What's that mental thing that you add to the queue each week, each day? What do we add to the queue of our minds each day? And Paul writes, whatever is true, honorable, just, if it's pure, if it's lovely, if it's commendable, if there's any excellence, if there's anything worthy of praise, he said, here's what you can add to the queue. Here's what you can add to the queue. You ever felt like your brain is on shuffle, but it seems like none of the songs are good? Seems like maybe it's cloudy, or maybe it's just, and it's almost as if we're addicted to the noise. There's just something maybe playing in the background. It's like overstimulated by information maybe, or input, and it's like we can't hear what maybe really matters. But what's playing on repeat in your soul right now? What's playing on repeat in your soul right now? What's the season you're in? Anxiety, fear, guilt. And not everything deserves a spot in the queue. So our text today points to the fact in Philippians. Paul writes, he says, you've got options. There's choice. You also have a filter, the Spirit. And the thing is, the loudest voice that's in your mind isn't always the truest voice. It's not always the truest sound. And the most repeated one, sometimes it seems like that's the reality. But the most repeated one may not be that thought that propels us into where it is we're wanting or believing to go. You can't control what plays around you, right? All the noise, like we can't control sometimes what plays around us. I think sometimes, someone goes into work, and maybe you're working at a factory or you're working in an office or whatever. You can't control what goes on around you. Things happen. People say things. People do things. But you can choose what stays on repeat. It's choice. What stays on repeat doesn't have to be the narrative if it's taking you in the wrong direction. What's on repeat? what's on repeat. And just because it's loud doesn't mean it's leading you to life. Doesn't mean it's life-giving. Doesn't mean it's sustainable. And every filtered thought through the lens of the Spirit means you're not hitting repeat or adding to the queue the lies that sometimes we tell ourselves. What do we add to the queue? What do we add to the queue? It's like the enemy can't destroy, but he can distract. The enemy can distract us from what we want to have on repeat, what we want to add to the queue, what we want to have that dialogue. The tool is if I used to play basketball a lot, and you played, if you can get in somebody's head, sometimes that's the easiest way to win. My boy's always trying to get in my head, but I beat him at everything. So I don't have to. No, what am I doing? I'm trying to get in his head and let him know I'm bigger than you, I'm better than you, I'm better than you. And sometimes the enemy wants to do that to us. But what if the script was flipped? And what if what was added to the queue of our mind and our heart, that thought, what if what was added was, that's not pure. I got your pure. I'm going to rise above this. And you might beat me down, but you can't break me. In Luke chapter 10 and verse 38, Mary, it's a story here of Mary and Martha. In verse 38, now as they went on their way, Jesus entered a village, and a woman named Martha welcomed him to her house, into her house. They go on their way. This is Jesus and those following him, and they entered into a village, and a woman named Martha says, stay with me, right? Verse 39, and she has a sister called Mary. So there's Martha and there's Mary, and the contrast between the two is defined in here, who sat at the Lord's feet and listened to his teaching. And so Mary comes to sit at Jesus' feet, and she wants to learn of him, and she wants to know him. She wants to glean from him. She wants to. And verse 40 says, but Martha, and here's the contrast, was distracted with much serving. And she went up to him and said, Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to serve alone by myself? And she says, tell her to help. She's distracted. She's distracted from Jesus being in the room. She's distracted from Jesus being in the moment. It's like Jesus is here, but the thing that matters most is, and it's interesting that Mary, this is wild to me. Mary doesn't say, Jesus, tell Martha to come over here and sit down. It was Mary, Mary doesn't say that. It was Martha that says, hey, I'm doing all this. She needs to she needs to get up from here and she needs to be with me. But Mary didn't. Mary just wanted to sit at the feet of Jesus. And I wonder what's on repeat in Mary's mind and what's on repeat in Martha's mind. Because what's on repeat in Mary's mind seems like is Jesus. And what's on repeat in Martha's mind, watch this, seems like somebody else. Because it says Martha was distracted, but she doesn't focus on the distraction. She focuses on, tell her to help me. Tell her to help me. I wonder what's on repeat, Mary? What's on repeat, Martha? Mary's locked in. Martha's overwhelmed. And the focus is different between the two. It seems like one is nourished and one has a lot of noise. Your future is shaped by what you feed your mind today. Your future is shaped. Whatever is on repeat right now, because what happens in your mind happens in time. It's a process, and sometimes it takes longer than you would like it to take, but if it stays on repeat, that's why I say vision boards and gotta get me one of those. If your future is focused on heart formation, and it doesn't have to be where you're at right now, but if you consistently put it on repeat, if you consistently add it to the queue, what happens? Well, you give power to whatever it is that you pay attention to the most. Whatever it is in our minds that is the most noise, is the loudest, is whatever that is, that's what we feed the most. That's what it seems like. That's what we. And so the good news is we can reset the playlist. And we can add to the queue. Verse 41 says, "But the Lord answered her, Martha, Martha, you are anxious and troubled about many things." Verse 42, he says, "But one thing is necessary. Mary has chosen the good portion, which will not be taken away from her." Because back to Paul's text, when our minds are on something good and something pure and something honest, honorable, when our minds get fixated on Jesus, it can't ever be taken away. Nobody can take that away. In Mark chapter 4 and verse 19 reads, "But the cares of this world and the deceitfulness of riches and the desires for other things enter in." The desires for anything maybe but Jesus enters in and chokes out the word, and it proves unfruitful. It's proven. Right? And sometimes that's not our intention. It's not that we're we want to choke out God's word in our life. That's not the intention, but life just happens. And things that happen in our mind just happen. We don't always intentionally try to make sure something happens to us. We don't always intentionally try to. And that's not really the focus here is after that. And it fades. Where does our mind go back to? Does it choke out the word, or does it? And I love that last part. And it proves. There's proof. There's proof that it is what? Unfruitful. Proves there's no fruit. In Romans chapter 12 and verse 2, Romans 12 and 2 says, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by how? The renewal of mind. Transformation, it's like the Transformers, transforming from a car into... The transformation happens by the renewing of our minds. The transformation doesn't happen through trying to do more or trying to do this or trying to do that. The transformation happens when we renew our mind. What? Renew. We go from, to renew our mind, we go from, it's a gospel reset here. And I see this, and for me, this is, the gospel is the Bible's reset. It's like the playlist reset. Grace greater than law, right? Because the more you lean into Him, He fulfills it in us. We don't push it. So it's not in the doing, it's in the being with Him, right? Peace is in surrendering to the right playlist, adding the right thoughts to the queue. What's on repeat? What's on repeat? What are those ruminating thoughts? It's like the cross hit the mute button on shame and guilt. And sometimes we will unmute that for us in our own lives, and it plays grace and truth. And is it in your queue? Grace and truth, shame and guilt. And peace isn't the absence of noise, it's the presence of Jesus. The noise still happens. The noise is always there. But the presence of Jesus, that's the real peace. And Jesus doesn't always silence the noise first. You think of the men in the boat, and there's a storm out over the water, and Jesus is asleep in the boat. Yeah, He calms the sea, but it's after the fact. When the playlist changes, your mind will follow. When the playlist changes, your mind just follows. You don't defeat fear by obsessing over it. You overcome it by focusing on the one who's bigger than that fear. And Jesus didn't die to keep you listening to that shame. He died so that we could have a new playlist. Peace in chaos. It doesn't mean the chaos doesn't always go away. Sometimes the noise stays there for a long time. It's not about eliminating. If it's about eliminating it, then Jesus didn't even have to come. In the Old Testament, the goal was for the God's chosen people, the goal was that God would eliminate the enemy. The goal was look at the children of Israel, and all of a sudden they get overtaken by the Amorites. And what happens when the Israelites get overtaken? I want to be delivered from this. I don't want to go through this. And here you find, and it happens over and over again, and then you find in the New Testament, in the Gospels, here's Jesus. And here's Rome. Jesus is the king for the Israelites, which is God's chosen people. And here's our king. And our king is going to save us. Well, how do you think the king's going to save you? He's going to eliminate Rome. This is a New Testament transition, though. He doesn't eliminate what's oppressing. He just gives peace in it. Now, over time, we didn't live to see it, but the Roman government falls. But in that moment, what did the Israelites want? We're chosen people. We shouldn't be oppressed by the Romans. They're taking all of our money. They're taking everything from us. And Jesus steps in, and this is the shift into grace. And understanding that, you know what? My situation sometimes is loud. But I'm going to add peace to the queue. I'm going to add joy to the queue. I'm going to add hope to the queue. John 10:27, Jesus says, "My sheep hear my voice, and I know them. And they follow me." It's the noise, right? It's the noise. It's my sheep hear my voice. And maybe you've been shuffling through the songs of life from track to track. Maybe the world's feeding you a playlist of pressure. Jesus offers a soundtrack of peace. Sometimes the pressure is masked. And sometimes we want relief from the pressure of the world, the pressure that the world puts on us, the pressure of being honest in a dishonest world. Pressure. And the thing is, it can be really disheartening sometimes walking through something like that. And the thing is, the soundtrack of peace is available to whosoever will. Let him come. What's one thought maybe you feel like you've been playing on repeat that maybe you'd like to replace with a new track? What truth from Jesus would it benefit you today to add to your queue? To that mental cycle? And what if peace didn't depend on what you're going through? What if it didn't depend on the circumstance? What if peace depended on what you're focused on? I've still got joy in chaos. I've got peace that makes no sense. Psalms 46:10, he says, be still and know that I am God. Be still and know. Be still and know. Be confident in this. Know this. And be still in it. Know that I am God and will be exalted among nations. I will be exalted in the earth. He's not waiting for your life to get quiet. God is whispering in the middle of all the noise. He's saying, let me be your focus. That's what he's saying. Isaiah 26:3 says, you keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on you. This is, it's almost like the secret sauce to whatever you're going through. He keeps you in perfect peace. When your mind is stayed on him, that's where the peace comes from. It doesn't come from anywhere else. It can't come from a building. Can't come from a church. Can't come from a people. I can't even get peace from my wife. I don't get peace from my kids. Yeah, I love them. And they're incredible. But that's not where peace comes from. Your friendships aren't giving you peace. Maybe a temporary shot in the arm. Maybe some energy. Maybe some love. Maybe some comfort. Maybe some. But real true peace doesn't come from people. It doesn't come from things. Real true peace comes from a mind that's on him. Let the words of the world fade. Keep me. Keep me. Keep me. What if we didn't need a vacation to find peace? What if we didn't need a trip, a cruise? What if we didn't need all this stuff that we purchase? What if we didn't need Amazon to find peace? What if we didn't need